Hey, Ryan Michael Galloway with WeDon'tNeedNoStinkingRecordCompany.com. Well, we've taken you through an awful lot of the recording process, step by step by step. And that's great, but I'd like to talk a little bit about techniques. And I don't necessarily want you to have to do this. This is really up to the recording engineer, but I do want you to know about this stuff so that you can watch and make sure the recording engineer is doing what they're supposed to do. So let's start with drums. Drums are the most difficult thing to record. And some things to think about when you're recording drums. The bass drum is the thing that kind of brings a whole song together. It locks with the bass guitar. It puts the bottom end on the whole recording. And just some things to know. The larger the bass drum, the deeper the sound is going to be. The smaller and shallower it is, the thinner it will sound. Some things to think about. You might allow a little bit of resonance, a little longer boom as opposed to a boom, depending on the kind of effect that you're trying to get. Listen to some of the recordings that you like and see what you want to do with that. Now, how do you make that work? Well, you can put all kinds of pillows and padding and not so much styrofoam, although you can certainly fill your bass drum with that and lie a microphone down it or something like that. But you want to put something against your drum head, and I personally prefer the ones that have a hole cut in the middle, because you can mic that hole and then decide. You can even change the position of the mic around that hole to decide how much you want to have smack the diaphragm of that microphone. But you can lie pillows on the outside or inside of that drum, the place where the head that the drum striker actually strikes, and the outside rim, both of those resonate. So they both need to be dampened or loosened out. And the more you have crowded against them, from probably the inside of the drum would be best, the less resonant, the more thud and stop you get. And the more you let them ring, the more of that longer boom you get out of them. One neat trick is to take all of your drums and tune them to the tonic note of the key of the song. If the song's in A or A minor, and you put the bass drum in A minor. That takes somebody who's a pretty knowledgeable drummer to know how to tune to a note, and then tune the rest of them to either that tonic note as well, or to fourths or fifths, which are in a typical rock and roll song, you're using fourths, fifths, and tonics. That's the 99% of what you're doing with the chords, and this locks in and puts the bottom on the chords. And so every once in a while I get a recording just by accident that happens. It's kind of neat. But you can also plan to do it. And so then you have to worry about things like rattles. Duct tape is a great thing. There's all kinds of hardware on a drum that rattles. You want to get that dampened down and have whatever it takes. If you have to wrap it up with a rubber band, if you have to put a piece of duct tape on it, if the drums are ringing too much in terms of the drum heads themselves, then you put a piece of tape or duct tape on that or two to kind of dampen those drums. And then you might have to rely just a little bit more on things like reverb to get them to sound big. But that gives you possibly a little bit more control. And an interesting thing, I have seen people actually attempt to mic a snare from both the top and the bottom. Let's think about that a minute. A while back I gave you a discussion on phase cancellation. And if you were to put two violins bowing exactly opposite of each other in a room that did not echo, and could manage to get your ear or a microphone right between those two violins bowing on the exact same note away from each other, so the vibrations were going exactly against each other, but theoretically you would be able to cancel those notes out completely. That's called phase cancellation, and it happens with us in live sound all the time. Well, in a recording situation, you can almost guarantee that you can make a lot of sound go away because you've got electronics involved. Now imagine you take a microphone and you put it on top of a drum and on the bottom of the drum. One head or two, they're vibrating like this. They're vibrating in unison, which means the impulse coming in from the top microphone and the impulse coming into the bottom microphone, no matter if you put them like this, whatever you want to put, the impulse that gets turned into an electronic signal is coming in at exactly the opposite rate. And so, if you put those into the same channel or pan them through the same place in the stereo picture, the snare drum will disappear. Or any other drum that you mic like that. It may not disappear completely, but it'll become very thin and very odd sounding and may disappear totally. So if you're going to do something crazy like that, mic the top and the bottom of a drum, make sure that you've got the ability to switch the phase on that microphone that's on the top or the bottom. And by the way, it would be best if you had infinitely variable phase control. Because if you've got infinitely variable phase control, you can find the sweet spot where no phase cancellation is occurring at all. Better, just mic it from one side. Now, one thing I've seen, and this is very organic sounding, is to take two microphones over the top of the drum set, left and right. And this would be probably about 5 or 6 feet up, maybe even a little bit further. And then one mic on the bass drum. And allow those mics with an omnidirectional setting to hear the entire drum set from the top, and also to hear a little bit of the room that the drums are in. It's a very neat effect. It does not give you as much control. You have to control then the volume of each drum with frequencies as opposed to having them on a fader. If you're recording drums the other way, you might have a microphone on every drum or every two drums. I would put a microphone on the snare, a microphone on the hi-hat, or one that shares. I would put a microphone, at least one microphone between the two mounted toms and one between the two floor toms. Maybe one on each one of those. And each one of those microphones, however configuration you make it, goes into a channel, which you can then put effects on that particular drum and get that particular drum sounding exactly right. And of course, a microphone on the bass drum, which you can control the tone on. Now you have total control of your drums and you don't have to worry about anything organic at all. But with this higher miking technique, if you play with it a little while, you might be able to get a very organic, very cool sound out of that. It's going to have to probably be in a real studio or a very quiet house. And then you have to decide if you want to record them in a room with hard walls, which reflect a little bit and give you a little bit brighter, kind of trashier sound, maybe, I suppose would be the way to describe that. Or you want to put it in a very dampened room with rugs and carpeting on the walls and that kind of thing, or gobos, the go-betweens around it that kind of dampen the sound down. So those are some things to think about with drums. Drums could take you easily 6 hours to get the sound together on them, which is sometimes why I take the shortcut of using electronic drums played by a drummer, that is triggered by a drummer, because the sounds are already set up for you. And sometimes it's a shortcut that gets you in trouble because you're going to factory sounds and the sounds are old or something like that, and they can work against you. But those are some things to think about with drums. I am Ryan Michael Galloway, and we don't need no stinking record company.com.